In a remote village nestled in the mountains, where darkness crept over the old houses at sunset, there was an ancient legend passed down through generations about an evil spirit dwelling in the ghost woods, an abandoned forest no one dared to enter after nightfall. They said that anyone who ventured into the forest at night never returned, and that the trees there breathed and whispered in voices heard only by those who walked beneath their dense shadows. One day, a brave young man named Yusef arrived in the village. He was fearless and didn't believe in legends or superstitions. After hearing about the forest from one of the village elders, he decided to enter it at night to prove to everyone that these tales were nothing more than myths. As night fell and the full moon rose, Yusef decided to sneak into the forest. He carried with him an old lantern and some food. The wind howled and the trees groaned as if in pain, but Yusef paid no heed. Upon entering the forest, he felt something strange. The darkness was overwhelming and the silence was suffocating. He began to hear eerie sounds like whispers calling his name. But Yusef ignored them and continued walking. Suddenly, he felt a cold hand touch his shoulder. He turned quickly, but there was nothing there. His heart raced, and for the first time, he began to feel fear. As he ventured deeper into the woods, he started seeing strange shapes among the trees, ghosts writhing and vanishing into the darkness. He tried to convince himself that they were mere illusions, but the further he went, the louder the whispers became and the clearer the shapes. The trees began to move as if trying to block his path, and their whispers turned into deafening screams in his ears. In a moment of terror, he heard a booming voice behind him say, "Why have you come here, Yusef?" His blood ran cold, and he turned slowly to find an old man in tattered clothes with eyes burning with malice. This man was the evil spirit the legends spoke of. The spirit spoke in a terrifying voice. "All who enter this forest share in my torment, but you will wish you had never been born." Then the man vanished, leaving Yusef in utter darkness. Yusef tried to escape, but the forest had changed. The path he had come from was gone. All around him were towering trees closing in on him from every side, and the air had become so thick he could barely breathe. He began to hear the sound of children crying and laughing, echoing between the trees. Yusef kept running aimlessly until he tripped and fell into a deep pit. When he regained consciousness, he found himself in a dark cave. On the walls were strange carvings and symbols he had never seen before. He started feeling cold breaths around him, as if something unseen was closing in on him. In the corner of the cave, he saw two glowing eyes in the darkness, following him with a hungry gaze. Yusef tried to flee, but his feet were rooted to the ground. As the eyes drew nearer, he felt something tighten around his neck, like an invisible rope slowly strangling him. At that moment, Yusef realized he would never leave this cave alive. The next morning, the villagers found Yusef's footprints at the entrance to the forest, but there was no trace of him. They spoke of the strange noises they had heard during the night, and the ghosts some of them had seen hovering above the forest. From that day on, the ghost woods became even more abandoned, and no one dared to approach it again. But every now and then, on nights of the full moon, the villagers would hear eerie sounds coming from within the forest. Whispers and sinister laughter, as if Yusef was still running from a terror that had no end.